Hi there, welcome to Composition. Today we're going to be teaching you how to play the game. Let's get into it, shall we? We have a couple things laid out right now, so let's talk about each one. First of all, every player is going to be randomly dealt a maestro. This maestro has unique powers that you'll be able to access through the entire game. The Mud Maestro, for example, starts with the letters M, U, and D because every maestro also gets 3 exclusive letter cards. You'll find the letter cards associated with the maestro by finding the maestro image on the bottom left corner of the card. Once you have your starting letter cards in your maestro, you're ready to go. You'll notice that this maestro has an ability that allows him to use letters interchangeably. He may use M's as W's and W's as M's, H's as I's and I's as H's, and N's as Z's and Z's as N's. Mud has a lot of flexibility. In addition, every maestro has a starting letter card with a unique ability. Let's go ahead and wait for that to unfuzz there. This ability, if second letter of word, this card may be played as an O. I know it hasn't shown yet because of the blur, but still very useful, and I'm reading it aloud, so it's fine. Your starting letter cards are useful because they're always able to earn at least 3 roses. You're always able to progress through the game because you're always able to make a word using your starting set of letters. I'm always able to spell mud. You can see how many roses a card earns by looking at the top left corner of the card. The top left corner tells you how many roses that card earns for the performance that you make, which is the word that you're spelling in this game. It's important to note that in composition you're only able to spell 1 word per round unless a card allows you to do so otherwise. At the bottom of each banner in your starting letter card, you'll also see a lock. These locks mean these cards are permanent. That means you never discard them, even when you use them. Not all cards in composition have locks, but some do. See how many you can earn as you progress through the game. Some locked letters might be more useful than others. This card here is the baton card. This determines who goes first in the game. This basically means we are deciding who takes from the composition first. The composition consists of the ghost note cards, and crescendo cards. The number of note cards in the game are dependent on the number of players playing, at least at the beginning. In a 2-player game, you're going to have 2 note cards. In a 3-player game, 3 note cards. In a 4-player game, 4 note cards. In a 5-player game, 5 note cards. You can keep track of this information using the composition tracker card. Place a rose on the number on the card based on the number of players. This tells you how many note cards come out. Now, as we progress through the game, this tracker is going to increase. Every time one of the ovation cards, which are these cards up here, O, A, E, I, and the consonant card, I'll get into that a little later, are purchased, the composition tracker moves up. That means more note cards are coming out into the composition, which means you'll have more opportunities to build larger words. The composition consists of the ghost note, the note cards, and the crescendo cards, as previously mentioned, but each card is a little different. The ghost note is a wild card. It can be any letter you want it to be. Let's go ahead and bring that a little closer so you can see it. However, at the end of each round, it always returns back to the composition. In addition, it costs 1 rose to take from the composition unless there are no note cards, in which case it is then free. Note cards are a bit of a wild bunch. Most of the cards are standard fare. They can help you progress through the game by helping you build powerful words and unique performances. Some might be very helpful, some might hinder you a little. You'll have to navigate through the drafting mechanic of the game to get what you're looking for. Let's talk about these 2 cards though real fast. This Y here has a rose value of 3. You'll also notice that in the banner it says the letter Y in the middle of the banner, so you can condense the cards as needed, and it has a symbol on the bottom of the banner. If you have multiple cards in your performance that have the same symbol, you'll earn unique bonuses. Try to keep track of those. Every player will have a cheat sheet available to take note on what they're getting. Crescendo cards are played face down in the composition, but these cards can be very powerful. These cost 5 roses to take from the composition, as opposed to note cards which are free, and the ghost notes which cost 1 unless there are no note cards. Crescendo cards are cards that can double your performance score, cards that allow you to build an additional word, because you can only build 1 word per round, cards that are locked letters, similar to the cards that you start with, and so on. There's a lot of power in here, but it's a bit of a gamble. You don't always know what you're getting. So you can take the risk or go for what you know. And of course, as you purchase cards, because each player takes 1 card at a time from the composition, you might be increasing the draft. So just to run through a quick example of how this might go, Let's say as Mud, I take the card T. You'll place the card in front of your Maestro and starting letter cards. Let's say the other player will take the letter Y. So we'll just put this over here for now. That means I get the Ghost Note. In the first round, each player only gets 1 red rose. In this game, red is worth 1 and blue is worth 5. That means you have no other opportunities to take cards from here because the crescendo cards cost 5. That's okay though. The first round is just getting a starting letter. So if I have a Ghost Note, a T, an M, U, and a D, what can I spell? There's a lot of options because I'm Mud. But before we get to that, let's talk about awards. So awards are unique cards that you earn by building a performance that matches the goal. So for example, this award here, oh my goodness. This award here says, spell a word with 5 letters or more that begins and ends with the same letter. If you're the first player in the rotation, starting with the player holding the baton, to earn this card by accomplishing the goal on it, you get that award. It's important to note that award cards and ovation cards, which are these gold cards up here, are your victory points. Whoever has the most at the end of the game wins. The game ends when one of the rows is emptied. When one of the rows is emptied, at the end of that round, giving other players an opportunity to purchase ovations or earn awards, the game ends completely. And whoever has the most wins, with tiebreakers going to players who have the most roses. So while earning roses for your performances might be useful, you really want to try to be going for these. These cards up here, the ovation cards, cost 20 roses to purchase, and the award cards are earned by accomplishing the goal on the card. It's important to note that the ovation cards are also locked letters, so once you take one, you'll keep it with your other locked cards off to the side. Remember, once you purchase an ovation card, you increase the composition tracker by 1, which increases the number of note cards that come out in the game. But let's say I didn't want to use this T yet. Every Maestro has chorus slots, or a chorus. They're able to store up to 2 cards into their chorus. There are some exceptions with some Maestros. Be sure to read your Maestro card to learn more, if those exceptions come up. So if I wish to save the T, I could place it right here. Thus, I'm locking that T in for a future round. So while it does not have the lock on it, since I'm not using it, I can save up to 2 cards here in my chorus. Remember, your Maestro works as a splitter. Keep your locked letter cards on one side before and after you make your performance. That means basically when you make a performance, you'll put it forward. So let's say I will just spell Muds this round. That would earn me 4 roses. I would take those 4 roses, and since I start with 1, I would have 5 roses total. We'll say the other player is saving their Y for later use. Since I've earned 5 roses, and other players have built their words as well and also gained roses, we return the Ghost Note to the center. My starting letter cards, or my locked letters, will return next to my Maestro, and a new round begins with the baton passing to the next player. Since we always have 2 face-down crescendo cards out, we're not going to place any more. This is the maximum number of crescendo cards that come out. If you're in an instance where there's only 1 or 0 in the composition, be sure to replenish those between rounds. In addition to that, you're going to draw however many note cards as the tracker notes. So since we have 2 players right now, and no one has taken an award card, or no, excuse me, an ovation card yet, we increase, actually we don't increase at all, we let the number of note cards sit as 2. So we have a couple new things out here. We have a card that has 2 letters, SH, could be really useful, a C, and the Ghost Note. So let's talk about how we can work with these elements. Let's say the other player takes the C, and then let's say I take the SH. So you'll place this in front of your cards. Then let's say the other player decides to purchase one of the crescendo cards. They got a bonus chorus slot, so that's really useful, so they can store extra cards for later. They'll place that in their chorus. Let's say I, since there are no more note cards, now take the Ghost Note for free. The other player isn't sure what to do, but they have limited options, and they can't afford a crescendo card. Since they cannot afford the crescendo card, and since there are no more cards to take from the composition, the drafting actually ends. Even though I have enough roses to purchase one, because there's nothing for them to take, I don't get an additional opportunity to spend roses. This can be useful if you want to prevent a powerful opponent from gaining extra cards. So if you're out of options, that's okay. It's worth noting though that if there is a free card available, you must take it. So let's just say, hypothetically, we're going to spell Shuts. S-H-U-T-S. These locked letters will stay over here next to my maestro. You'll notice that this begins and ends with the same letter, the ghost note being an S. I would earn 4, 5, 6, 7 roses from these sets of cards. Oh, it's worth noting that I have a card with an ability. Before you confirm your performance, and players will confirm their performance in order of player holding the baton, which basically means, let's say the other player also was able to build a word that begins and ends with the same letter. That means they would earn this award before me. However, because they are confirming their word before me, that means they lock it in before me. That gives me an opportunity to change things around if perhaps I wanted to go for a different award, if possible, or I might want to save some letters for a future round. So this can be handy. While they may get the award, I might be able to get something else instead. And once they've confirmed their word, I'm still able to change mine as needed. Anyway, we have a card with a unique ability. It says pay 1 rose. Repeat letters in your performance earn double roses. I'm not going to activate this power, but it's important to note that if I wanted to, I would place a single rose on the card before confirming my performance is finished. This basically means I'm saying I am using this power and I'm locking it in. Remember, everything in composition is public knowledge with the exception of the 2 face-down crescendo cards and the decks that are here, the crescendo deck and the note deck. So the other player was not able to earn the award card before me, so I will end up taking that, but they would collect their roses before me. So these 2 cards, since I use them, get discarded. My permanent letter cards return next to my maestro. The ghost note comes out. So let's say we've progressed through the game a little bit. Let's say I've taken the I, or maybe the E as well, and maybe my opponent has taken the A. That's pretty fun. So we've taken 3 ovation cards, which means the tracker moves up by 3. 1, 2, 3. That means 5 note cards come out this round. A lot of options for sure. Let's see what else we have. And you know what, just to make it a little more interesting, I'm going to see if I can show you some extra things as we go through. One moment, I apologize. Let's go ahead and swap this out. And we'll also go ahead and swap this card out as well. So we have a couple new elements in our composition. And remember, you're going to want to make sure you always have 2 crescendo cards, the needed note cards, and the ghost note. Since we're making some space here, we'll put this here. So we have 2 new kinds of cards out. We have a tomato card. Tomato cards are dastardly and can disturb your performance, and the composition as well. Let's see what this card says. When we find a tomato card and it's revealed, we read it aloud for all players to know what it does. This is the Fiery Tomato. If not used in word, discard this card and lose all roses. If used, pass to maestro on left. This card passes between rounds. That means I have to use it in my performance if I take it, and if I don't, all of my roses get discarded. But if I do use it, it goes to the next player. That means they have to deal with it. This keeps going around until a player cannot use it or opts out of using it. Sometimes, while you can probably always use an F in some kind of word, it does inhibit your ability to word build. It's important to note that abilities activate before you gain roses for your word or your performance, which means if I chose not to use the F, I would only lose my existing roses. I wouldn't lose roses that I gain for my performance. We have another type of card. Any card with a hand symbol means that it activates when you take it from the composition. So these cards will activate automatically when you take from the composition if the conditions are met. So this card says discard a chorus card. If I had a chorus card, I would have to discard it when I take this letter card here. This means I might want to not take it and take something else and hope somebody else gets it to hinder their progress as well. It's also worth mentioning, let's take a look at this E here. This E here says, worth 0 roses if used in word with another vowel. This is critical. This is a powerful card. It's worth 3 roses and an E, which is a really easy vowel to use, honestly, compared to most of the other ones anyway. But abilities that don't have pay costs activate automatically. Of course, if an ability has a pay cost, you don't have to use it if you don't want to. You can still use the letter in a word, only having to pay if you want to use the ability. But cards that do not have a pay cost, their abilities activate automatically if the conditions are met. Keep track of those. Some are really useful, but some may not be. Some might make things a little rough. There are some unique Ovation cards in the game. I don't want to spoil all of them yet, but I'll show you my personal favorite. This is the Consonant card. This is almost a very good wild, but, and if you only played as any consonant, this is one of the unique Ovation cards that you can earn as you progress, but it has a rose value of 0. But it's still worth a victory point or an applause badge. Remember, whoever has the most of these badges wins, and these can only be found on Ovation and award cards. Players will keep taking cards one at a time, gaining as they progress, trying to make the greatest performance of all, while trying to gather cards and resources to make goals through the award cards or earn enough roses to buy Ovation cards. There are a lot of powerful cards in this game, and it's up to you to do your best to navigate through. But remember, this game is compatible for savvy wordsmiths as well as casual word makers. However you wish to play, you have an opportunity to do so here. You're always able to earn 3 roses with your starting letter cards, which means you're always able to progress somehow. That is the game. I hope this was helpful. This is my first time doing a Let's Play of something like this through video, but I hope you had a good time. I hope you learned a lot. If you had any questions or feedback, feel free to comment below, or don't. That's okay. The game is live on Kickstarter now, if you're watching this, and I hope you support it. I've had a lot of fun making this. I love word games personally, and while this is a bit of a mess right now, there is quite a cacophony going on, so I feel justified in it. Anyway, you have fun out there. Good luck word building, and good luck with your performance. Oh, a cat.